The excitement surrounding The Family Plan 2 has been building fast, but nothing compares to hearing Kit Harington open up about stepping into this new action-packed world, and especially about facing off against Mark Wahlberg in the middle of London. As he sits down to talk about the upcoming film, releasing on Apple TV on November 21st, there's an immediate spark of enthusiasm. For him, this project is more than just another gig. It's a chance to play with a new kind of character, experiment with a new energy, and of course, battle one of Hollywood's biggest action powerhouses on top of a double-decker bus. When the topic of shooting the sequel in Europe comes up, Kit Harington lights up with a mix of humor and pride. Unlike many of his co-stars who had to fly across the world, he enjoyed the rare luxury of filming practically around the corner from his home. He jokes that on the most practical level, nothing beats rolling out of bed in your own house and walking straight into a massive fight scene with Mark Wahlberg in the heart of London. It's surreal, he says, but also strangely comforting. And on the emotional side, filming in his hometown gave him a strong sense of ownership, like the city itself was rooting for him. With a smile, he admits that while he should know all the best spots to recommend to visiting cast members, he often found himself clueless. Even though he lives in London, he doesn't explore it nearly enough, something he finds both funny and relatable. The conversation shifts to how Kit Harington came aboard for The Family Plan 2. The story is unexpectedly charming. The director, Simon Cellan Jones, somehow got his phone number from Richard Madden and sent him a direct message saying, "You don't know me, but I'd love for you to do this film." Kit laughs as he recalls this unexpected approach, but he says the timing felt right. He had already watched the first movie and genuinely enjoyed it, which made the idea of joining the sequel even more attractive. With young kids at home, the chance to play a larger-than-life villain in a family-friendly action franchise felt like a natural, fun shift in his career. He admits he's always loved old-school Christmas action films, and stepping into the role of a charismatic, slightly ridiculous villain was immediately appealing. It was the kind of character that allowed him to lean into energy, humor, swagger, and even a bit of mischief, something refreshingly different from his years playing stoic heroes. As he describes his villainous character, Finn, Kit Harington explains that playing a bad guy gives him freedoms that good guy roles simply don't. After portraying one of the most iconic noble heroes in television history, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, he found himself wanting roles with more bite, more edge, and more emotional messiness. Finn, with his ego, chips on both shoulders, and dramatic flair, was exactly the kind of meaty character he was eager to explore. But Kit is quick to point out that Finn isn't purely evil. Like any good villain, he has layers. There's arrogance, humor, vulnerability, and a real sense of grievance buried beneath all the theatrics. Playing those layers gave him an exciting challenge that he hadn't experienced in a while. When asked about the dynamic between the cast, especially given how close Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Monaghan are after years of working together, Kit Harington admits he wasn't hazed or teased as the new guy, though he almost wishes he had a fun story about it. Instead, everyone was warm and welcoming, but he reveals that because his character exists separately from the main family unit, most of his scenes were with Mark Wahlberg. That meant he often felt slightly removed from the rest of the group, which he admits is the only thing he regrets about the shoot. He would have loved to spend more time bonding with the full cast ensemble, but the nature of his character kept him orbiting around the edges of the main family storyline. Then comes the big question. What was it like going head-to-head with Mark Wahlberg, one of the biggest action stars in the world? Kit Harington doesn't hesitate. He was absolutely intimidated. He remembers his first day on set clearly. They were shooting a stunt scene inside a bank vault, not exactly a gentle warm-up. He tried to play it cool, acting like he belonged there and had everything under control. But underneath the composed exterior, he was well aware of how surreal it felt to be wrestled, grabbed, and slammed around by Mark Wahlberg. He says no matter how long you've been in the industry, moments like that are never normal. In his signature dry humor, he laughs and says that getting manhandled by Mark Wahlberg is always a strange experience. One that absolutely did not lose its shock value even after multiple takes. Another fun part of the conversation is the discussion about the future of the franchise. If there were to be a third installment of The Family Plan, where would he want filming to take place? Without missing a beat, Kit Harington answers, Hawaii. After spending so much of his career filming in cold climates, harsh environments, and moody landscapes, especially during his time on Game of Thrones, he's ready for a sun-soaked tropical escape. He laughs as he says he has spent too much time drenched, frozen, or fighting in miserable weather. For the third film, he wants beaches, warmth, and palm trees, and honestly, who can blame him? As the interview takes a fun turn, he answers rapid-fire questions about the cast. If someone had to be responsible for planning activities during a European road trip, Kit says the answer is overwhelmingly Michelle Monaghan. She has that natural leader energy, he explains, and she always seems to know what's going on. When asked who would pack one carry-on bag versus who would bring 15 full suitcases, Kit answers that director Simon Cellan Jones would absolutely be the one with a single tiny bag. He's simple, grounded, and not the type to overpack. As for who would get lost first in a European city, Kit volunteers himself immediately. He admits he has a terrible sense of direction and would almost certainly wander off by accident. And to make it funnier, he says most of the cast probably wouldn't even notice he was gone, except maybe Mark Wahlberg. The interview eventually leads into a conversation about holiday traditions, especially since The Family Plan 2 leans heavily into the theme of family togetherness during Christmas. In the film, the message is clear. It doesn't matter where the family is as long as they are together. But Kit Harington says that in his real life, it absolutely does matter where they are. His family is incredibly traditional, especially his brother, who insists that Christmas must be celebrated at home, in the exact place they're supposed to be. Traveling for Christmas is simply not an option. For the Harington family, home and togetherness are both essential and non-negotiable. Despite all the humor and lightheartedness of the conversation, one heartfelt moment stands out. When asked whether he hopes his kids will watch The Family Plan 2 someday, Kit Harington laughs and admits they're not interested in watching him on screen. At least not yet. But he hopes that one day, maybe around Christmas, it becomes part of their holiday tradition. He even jokes about enforcing a family rule where they must sit down every year to watch Daddy's Christmas action movie. Even though he doubts his kids would be excited about it now, he hopes that someday the film becomes something they can enjoy together. A little piece of his career woven into their family memories. From talking about intense action scenes on London buses to joking about getting put in a headlock by Mark Wahlberg, and from reflecting on villainous roles to dreaming of Hawaii, Kit Harington gives a charming, heartfelt, and surprisingly hilarious look into the making of The Family Plan 2. And through every moment, he reminds fans why they've always loved watching him. Whether he's wielding a sword in Game of Thrones, plotting chaos in The Family Plan 2, or simply laughing about his own life as a father and actor who just wants a warm beach for the next sequel,